loveful. I am a being of love. I am just love, only love. Om Shanti.
Good evening, everyone. Om Shanti All. It's good to see you here again. I'm very happy to see everyone. Welcome to this evening talk with the Brahma Kumaris. And our speaker tonight will be Sister Rona, and she will be talking about the theme of the topic. The topic is the healing power of pure love. You just heard a meditation on love, very nice, very empowering, and that meditation was done by Sister Mohini. She is the head of the Brahma Kumaris for the Americas and the Caribbean, and we will be looking at the power of love. How can we awake that love within ourselves? Of course, Sister Rona will be giving us some tips on what we can do, because only pure love can bring together the pieces of a broken heart. And I'm sure that many of us have, our hearts are broken, and we need to do something to put it together. But without that pure love, nothing can be accomplished. So here is Sister Rona. Om Shanti.
Good evening, everyone. Is the sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. This month is the month of February. And one of the things that is celebrated in February, 14th of February, is Valentine's Day. So this topic of love is always extra in the air in this month of February. And although this is a topic that is near to the heart of many, and there is always a lot of talk of love and a lot of longing for love and a lot of saying even maybe, I love you, I love you. It is quite amazing how little time we generally take to deeply reflect on the meaning, the proper meaning of this word, and the proper insight into what a truly loving interaction and a truly loving relationship is created of. We all want it and we desire it and we aspire to it and we look for it and we do many, many, many things for it. But do we truly take time to reflect and grasp the deeper meaning of it, and also make our heart and make our mind capable of loving of being love, of experiencing love, of receiving love, and of giving love in a way that is clean and that is truly fulfilling, and not make us dependent, not make us subservient, not make us a victim. And so tonight's session is a bit aimed at that, for us to deeply reflect on this and get a deeper insight in the true meaning of this word and how we can use love as a way to heal. First of all, in the description of this topic, piecing together the pieces of a heart, a broken heart. So what are these pieces? Because the physical heart cannot be broken into pieces. But what is meant by this a broken heart? What is meant with the heart into pieces? And one way to approach this subject is to use the understanding or this word called concentration and wholeheartedly. Let's say, for example, at this present moment, I am with some relative maybe, or some friend. And can I be with that person, interacting wholeheartedly at this moment without the mind being distracted, without the mind being pulled by something or someone else? Can the interaction at this moment be selfless instead of selfish and self-serving? Can there be an interaction where there truly is the feeling of wanting to listen, wanting to share, wanting to uplift, wanting to empower, and maybe most of all, needing nothing from the other? Because once there is a positioning of neediness, there is some selfishness. And then there may be love, there may be feeling of care, there may be a feeling of appreciation, but it is mixed. It is mixed with my own needs. So whatever I speak, whatever I do, whatever my vision is towards the other, there will be behind some selfish, some personal need. And that means there is not that wholeheartedness in the quality of the interaction. Some selfish, some neediness is there. Because mind is not content. Mind is not full. Mind is not free to cleanly, purely give. And so there's selfishness, and selfishness we see that as something negative. So we are often clear that that should not be there. But conscious or subconscious feeling I need, that has become normal. This mindset where there is a feeling of neediness. I need, I want, I desire. That has become normal. We don't often we don't question that anymore. And we don't see that as a pollution of this beautiful feeling of love. And so if we would take a working definition of love, what would that working definition be? I'm sure in the dictionary, and if you Google it, you get all kinds of nice definitions. But what is a practical definition with which I could lead my life and I could measure the quality of my love and the quality of my interactions with others? One working definition that I was given many years back by some of the main teachers in the Brahma Kumaris, that I felt was very useful as a standard by which I kind of measure. And love is the sharing of energy. And energy can be mental energy, can be emotional energy, can be physical energy in terms of actions, can be verbal energy in terms of words, or it can be the sharing of the energy of matter through objects, but a sharing at any of those levels where there is the aim to empower and uplift someone else. or to protect or uplift the goodness in someone else. And I felt that was a very useful useful definition or working definition, very practical. So any thought, any feeling that I have, or any word that I speak, or any action that I do, or any gift that I give, if there is the intention, there is the feeling behind the doing that action of uplifting, of empowering, of enriching the other at any of those levels, then I could consider that an act of love or an interaction of love. And so taking that into, what is the word? Taking that definition into consideration, you could already begin to see how love can be healing. Because if there is the intention to uplift, if it is an act of empowerment, if it is an act of enrichment, if it is an act of restoring or encouraging or strengthening the goodness in others, then that in itself becomes like a healing. But it implies that behind there is a selfless mind, It implies that behind there is a clean being. Now, is that possible for us to be clean and to be selfless? And another aspect, not aspect, some addition to that is to measure the power of the love. Can we love even under provocation? Can we love even under extreme provocation? And that is a good sign of whether it is truly selfless or not. Because if it is selfish, then that love will only last as long as I get my chocolates also, as long as I get my needs and my desires fulfilled. But if it is under extreme provocation, there still are feelings of good wishes and pure feelings and the energy to uplift. That is a good indication that there is that power of love, that there is that pure love, that there is that love that heals. And of course, from religious history, we hear stories of Jesus Christ, who was able to, under extreme provocation, still love everyone as brothers, still love everyone as children of God. And of course, even in recent history, there are examples of individuals who could be like that, selflessly loving, and even ready and able to give up their own life, but not give up truth and not give up their respect and their self-respect and their dignity. And so we don't have to be prophets, or we don't have to be martyrs or heroes or famous people on the world stage, but that capacity all of us have that capacity to be in that way and to love in that way. Now, what is required? In the beginning, when we were starting this talk, was saying, how can we be able to have that power of love and that healing power of love? What is required to have a mind that loves like that, or that is able to experience and to feel love like that? How can our mind become so clean and so pure? Anyone would like to say? We're only 20 or so, so there is space. It is okay if anyone want to say.
Soul conscious, sister. If we look everybody as a soul, then we don't see them, their impurities. Yeah.
So what will make it possible for me to be so conscious and to look at everyone as my brother? No, because this is not what is happening in the world. So what is required to have that right frame of mind?
We should have the understanding that the love is our original virtue. So we are not looking for love from someone else.
Mm.
So it's our original virtue which we have forgotten. So we are just want to share our love with others.
Mm. Very good. Someone said something, I think, in the chat. I can't read it. Maybe Jose, can you read? Someone said something in the chat. In the chat.
It's Matilde. She's saying hello. Matilde is saying hello.
Oh, just hello.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
um, for us to be in that space, there has to be no neediness inside for ourselves. Not because we can say, I don't need anything, I'm selfless. But do we truly feel like that inside? When talking about this theme of relationships, and I'm not talking necessarily only of intimate romantic relationships, any form of relationships, it is good for ourselves to ask ourselves, what is the motivation behind that interaction? Why am I entering into this relationship, or why am I maintaining this relationship? That is always good to ask ourselves and to clarify for ourselves. Because if there is neediness behind, it actually is the opposite of love. It becomes a relationship based on selfish interests and motives. And even if it is, I need you to feel loved, it still means there is a feeling of neediness. And then the interaction is conditional. And it is coming from a space of inner emptiness. And so it can never be unconditional, and therefore it can never be healing, because it is from a space of needing and wanting and desiring. And sometimes that can even evolve into demanding and being annoyed when I don't get it, and getting angry when I don't get it, and that can even mount into violence and all kinds of unpleasant, negative, destructive experiences and interaction. And it starts small with I need, and oh, I want you to love me. Oh, I cannot live without your love. Oh, I cannot live without you. We have nice poetic words and songs and films about all of this so-called yearning. But it is the seed for disaster, sooner or later. Because there is no equality then, you have and I need. That puts already the inequality in the equation. But also that need just grows and grows and grows and grows. Because it is not if you give me love today and you tell me you love me today, tomorrow I'm okay. Tomorrow again I want to hear. And I maybe want to hear twice now, because yesterday you said one time, now today you need to tell me twice. So this positioning of inner neediness, if it is not addressed at a different level, it just grows and grows and grows and can become something very ugly. And this is why we see in the world many dysfunctional relationships. And this is also why many what is it? partnership relationships, romantic relationships, quite the number of them ends in a divorce, or ends sometimes even very ugly. Whilst these were people who said in the beginning, I love you, I love you, I love you. What happened with that love? If it was coming and was maintained to come from that higher space, that clean inner space, then it would not end, because then it would be unconditional. But often we are young, or often we are, even though we might not be young, never really properly reflected on this topic. And now the spiritual positioning is, and it was mentioned already, and so those who were there in the meditation before, love is part of your being. Not just as what? Water is wet, it is innate to water. Sky is blue, it is part of the sky. In the same way, love is part of the soul, of the human soul, of our consciousness. We are beings made of love, but that love has become compromised. That love has become blocked. That love has become stained. And so once we remove the blocks, once we remove the stains, it becomes pure. And now what is that blockage? What is that creates within our mind all these desires and neediness and demands and expectations? First of all, what happens is there is a basic positioning that is wrong. And I'll explain. There are two ways to understand ourselves. And one that is the popular, worldwide popular perspective on self is we are born at a certain moment and we have nothing, and we are nothing, and we are no one. And from the moment we are born, we need things to become someone. And we are spoon-fed that belief, that conditioned thinking pattern about ourselves. That you need certain things, you need to conform to certain standards and certain norms to be someone, to be lovable, to be respected. You need to become someone. Not you are already someone, you need to become in a certain way. You need to behave in a certain way, you need to look in a certain way, you need to have certain things, you need to interact and relate to certain people in a certain way to become someone. And then you go through life accumulating as much as possible. We accumulate a social circle, we accumulate an education, we accumulate information, we accumulate maybe a position and possession and education to be someone, to be lovable, to be respectable, to be honorable. And then gradually, at the end of life, we lose everything again. And when we die, we lose everything. I'm putting it a bit black and white, but that is generally the conditioned belief system that we have about life and about ourselves. I am nothing and I have to get. I have to accumulate by whatever means possible to become loving, lovable, to become respectable, to become appreciative, to be appreciated by others. And those things can be taken away from me anytime. I can lose these things anytime. We have to look in a certain way physically. We have to conform to certain norms that are put in place for physical beauty according to culture and certain fashion rules that are there and that govern society. And if I match that, then I am beautiful and then I will be loved and then people will appreciate me. But if I'm not, then I will not be lovable. And this is one of the reasons why people are so scared for the body to become older, because then we are not fitting in that category anymore of aesthetic beauty, physical beauty, and so love for me and appreciation for me will diminish. So this is one perspective on self and one perspective on life that we generally have. The spiritual positioning is very different and is actually quite revolutionary and very useful to explore and experiment with. The spiritual understanding is you are already a beautiful, complete, and whole being at the moment of birth. Even at the moment of conception, you are a spiritual being, an invisible experiencer, which is innately made of this, you could say, feelings and energy of peace, feelings and energy of love, feelings and energy of appreciation and joy and playfulness, an immortal being, a timeless, invisible being of consciousness, a being of awareness, an experiencer, the soul, a being who is divine innately. And this being comes into the womb of a mother, into the fetus, and this fetus grows, and the baby is born and develops, and there are all kinds of interactions and a certain surrounding and people around. But the being is already whole and complete. This body and the bodily surroundings and interaction, it is extra for the soul. And the soul doesn't need any of those things to exist. Now, the real self is the soul. And so the real self doesn't even need this body to be a beautiful, godlike being of consciousness, immortal, timeless, but invisible, a being of benevolence, a being of peace, a being of love. And this body is just for a temporary period an extra tool to express, to experience, to interact. But the innate nature, the character of the spiritual being is not dependent on the body or any of the characteristics of the body or any of the relationships or position or possession or people or pennies around the body. And this being is like a traveler, an experiencer, an observer, a player. And this is just like the bat. A bat means a tool to play with. And so the soul comes into this world with his own world, his own fullness and his own completeness, and comes here to express and to share and to care, not to need anything, not to want anything, not to desire anything, but just to be and to give, to serve. And of course, there will be people around, there will be some physical facilities around and some education and some, but all of that is extra. I don't need all of that or any of that to exist and to be a pure, peaceful, spiritual being of consciousness. And so when the moment the lifespan increases and the body comes to the end of the lifespan, there will also not be a feeling of losing anything. There will be just a feeling, okay, this part of the journey is finished and another part of the journey opens. And I continue. So these are these two ways of thinking about ourselves. But the first one that I have described is what is predominant. Even in people who say or practice meditation or say that they are spiritual, they might still be living from that first perspective. Because to truly experience the self as a non-physical, immortal, timeless, imperishable, God-like being of light, that is like going against the current of everyday and of popular thinking. And everybody else treats you and has a vision on you of that first model. So even if you are trying to live in that second model, everybody else treats you in that first model. And so that healing power of love and that kind of love that we were talking about, it is only possible when we are in that state of consciousness, that state of mind of that second model. When that becomes our model with which we live and with which we look at others. And if we truly experience ourselves to be invisible, timeless, loving, peaceful souls who need nothing to be, who need nothing from this world, not even this body. If it is not there, we are just fine. We will continue to exist. If in that way we go through life, then being appreciative of everything will become natural, because everything and everyone will be experienced as an extra gift. Every moment becomes a gift. Every interaction becomes a gift, a new experience, an adventure, a different experience or a different scene in this drama of life. And if we live in this second model, then we will also see others as in that same way. Everyone else is also a spiritual light, a being on their journey. My brothers. And if I live in this consciousness, that is how I will see others also, then I cannot help but love, because everyone else is beautiful also. A spiritual, complete, whole, timeless, imperishable being of light, independent of the physical personality and the role, independent of the actions performed at the drama level, human interactions. Behind there is a godlike being of light, my brothers. And in this state of awareness, this second model, in that state of awareness, it will be almost natural also to experience, to perceive the existence and the presence of one who is always in that awareness. Without any effort, for that being, it is obvious that all are bodiless, peaceful, timeless beings of light. That is the one who is remembered as God, who is called God, the Supreme Soul, one who is always in that clarity of there is matter and there is the story of the human story that is being played out, and there is the dimension beyond, the invisible dimension. And for God, this is obvious. God sees like that, knows that, and exists at that state of consciousness, and is ever secure and ever pure. That is why God is ocean of love, ocean of peace, ocean of innocence, ocean of joy. And for us to be in that soul conscious awareness and get a taste of the company of one who is forever in that state of consciousness. That is like very wonderful and definitely a healing experience, because you get an insight into what is possible for you to feel and to be also. And that can then again be shared with others. And in that pure, clean love, all forms of relationships can be experienced. Now, even with others, with human souls, we can experience them as our companion, and we can experience them the same one. We can experience as a teacher, as a companion, as a friend, as a father figure. So when there is love, different forms of relationships can be experienced. Now with the Supreme, we can experience all forms of relationships in the cleanest and the highest way. And that is available and possible right now at this moment in time. So we can experience the Supreme Soul as Father, in the most purest form, father-child relationship, selfless, noble. We can experience the Supreme Soul as mother, as friend, as beloved, as teacher, as guide, as doctor. Can be your doctor or psychologist. So all forms of relationships can be experienced. The love of all those different forms of relationships can be experienced in the relationship with God. And that is what really fixes all the pieces of the broken heart, because at this moment in time, we try to get love of a mother there, and love of a father there, and love of a beloved there, and love of a friend there, and love of a brother there, or a sister there. Because at this moment in time, the condition of human mind is such that we cannot even fulfill properly one relationship, one type of love in a selfless, completely pure way, let alone more forms of relationships. And so when we elevate our consciousness again, when we move into that awareness of that second model, I am a spiritual, God-like being of light. It is eclipsed because we don't believe that anymore. We have moved into the belief system of that first model. And thereby we limit ourselves. We come into ego thinking, false identification, limited self images and self-perception and attachments and greed. But once we begin to see the truth of being invisible, timeless, immortal, imperishable, experiencer, being of awareness, being of consciousness, and that the true self belongs to that invisible, timeless dimension. When we begin to see the truth of that and move into that conviction and that state of consciousness that yes, the real self is that being of light, then mind begins to open up and we will be able to perceive the presence and the company of God. And when that love is experienced, then love towards other souls becomes natural and automatic in a selfless way. Anyway, I'm sure there are questions and comments. Not too difficult, please. We can have some time for some questions.
Okay, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. I was thinking about getting a heart transplant, a new heart, and so my love will come back. But we all know that you just say that love is innate in the soul and soul is eternal, which means that we always have that love within ourselves. We just have to emerge it. And for that, we have to be aware of our own self.
It is blocked, no? We are beings of love. We are beings of peace, but it is blocked by that limited belief of ourselves and that limited thinking about ourselves. One can be rich, but if you are convinced that you are poor, If you have forgotten your wealth, then your reality will be of a beggar and of poverty. You will feel poor and you will behave as a poor person, even though you are rich. So in the same way, we are spiritual beings with a wealth of love, with a wealth of peace, with a wealth of joy. But it is blocked by our own wrong belief about ourselves, about others, and about life.
Okay, the floor is open. You can ask your question if you have any.
There are some comments in the chat. I'm not sure if...
Oh, yes. It's a comment. Just letting you know that this lecture is being recorded and it will be posted on YouTube and Facebook page. And you can go to the Manhattan Meditation Center website, and from there click on the links of Facebook or YouTube and find all these lectures and other classes also, and share it with the people you think that will take advantage of this lecture.
Okay. Nobody has any questions or comments? Seeing Mita. Was it useful, Mita? You have to unmute yourself.
Sister, it was very good, like refreshing, because always we have to remind ourselves about our qualities. So what is our, what type of love should we share for Valentine's to with others, like from our own qualities, like instead of material? What is your thoughts on that?
With whomever you share. I definitely feel we should not limit our love just to romantic love. But whoever you share with, let it be that coming from that selfless space. And of course, you can also give a physical, material gift, but also that, let it be with the aim to enrich and to empower others. And because sometimes even gifts are selfish, no? You give the gift because you want something to be given to you also.
Yeah.
And it should be at least as expensive as the gift that I give.
Yeah.
So even at that level, we become so petty and silly. And it contaminates the beautiful feeling of love, which has appreciation in it, which has respect in it, which has honor in it, which has the feeling of wanting to uplift and wanting to enrich, wanting to enlighten. So even in physical gifts, let there be something that, enriches the person. Now, personally, when I give gifts that are physical, I always aim that it has something spiritual in it, or some spiritual significance, or remind others of their existence as a spiritual being, or it has some spiritual knowledge or some book or whatever, that even if it is a physical gift, that it still carries with it the potential to uplift, not some useless things that will be thrown in the in your cupboard or stand on some shelf collecting dust.
So to make their journey more beautiful, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To help them. Yeah. To uplift them. Right. Okay.
Actually, art used to be having that aim. Every form of art, every form expression, whether it is literature or music or paintings or poetry or songs, it used to be with that aim to enrich and uplift and enlighten people. Nowadays, I'm not too sure. and much of it has become also commercialized. But the beauty of life and the art of life, and the sweetness of life is when there is that pure love. Otherwise, things are dry, dry, dry. No?
Very nice, sister. Yeah.
Oh, Shanti, sister.
Sonia?
Yes. So that's what we call unconditional love. So give your chocolate, but don't give it expecting to receive a chocolate back. And even if it's not a sweet, lovely person, I noticed that you keep giving love and treating nice the person. It's like it comes back. You it's like almost you polish the person because they see and they feel the love and they end up being loving too.
Yeah, we forget that, no?
Yes.
That what we give and what we invest, that is what will ultimately comes back. Not to do it for that reason, but to know that that is a long song.
It's so hard to love.
Approach anyone or anything with lots of demands and expectations. It blocks.
It blocks. Yeah, that's why it's so hard to love your enemy. And they said that's the biggest proof of love when you do love a person that
Can
you
you
consider
love?
an enemy. Yes. Mm-hmm.
If you can love your enemy truly,
Yeah.
cleanly, uh, under provocation and extreme provocation, then you have power to love.
If you see only his light, his spirit, yeah. Not easy, but it's possible, yes. Thank you,
Okay.
sister. It was a good reminder, yes.
Let's close with some moments of meditation, and then maybe Jose has some announcements still. Let's just take a few moments and relax. And one way to let the mind relax is to accept everything and everyone and your surroundings as it is. For a few moments, for these moments, just accept everything as it is. And then the why and the what it is deleted from the mind. And just come back to that state of essence of the self. Pure light. The one who is operating this body. The one who is sitting behind the eyes. Is this lovely, tiny star of living light. Invisible, but very real. Pure, peaceful soul. This is the real self. A being who is a guest in this body. A guest in this physical world. Timeless. Imperishable. Free. completely independent from the body and the bodily interactions or the physical personality. Just like a driver is in the car but is independent from the car and can get out of the car. And the end of the car doesn't mean the end of the driver. In the same way, the real self, the soul, independent, a guest in this body, a guest on this planet. A lovely, godlike being of light who eternally belongs to the Supreme Soul. This is like opposite to what we have been taught to think about ourselves. But that limited self-image, that limited identity has put us within limitations and has contaminated our love and our experience of love. So let's restore our sense of identity. Let's restore our self-awareness back to what is unlimited and spiritual. Pure, godlike, living light. Thank you, and have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you, sister.
Okay, you have something to...
Thank you.
sister.
Om Shanti.
Thank
Night,
you.
everybody.
Om Shanti. There is no more announcement. Just a reminder. Again, the lecture is being recorded and it will be posted on Facebook and YouTube. Om Shanti. Have a good night.
Shanti.